Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. I am here right outside of Chicago, and I am so happy. We finally have some decent, beautiful spring like weather. It's what does it say here? Oh gosh, it's 71 degrees. And we are looking forward for the next 10 days at least of some 70-degree weather in the 70s, maybe even in the 80s. So I am extremely pleased because it's been cloudy and rainy and, all that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, today, I'm doing something a little different. I was, well, I wouldn't say interview, but I had a conversation on a podcast and it was about caregiving. So, what I wanted to do for the first about half an hour, I wanted to show you the podcast conversation I had with Mary Elaine Petrucci. And it was all about caregiving during the mother-daughter relationship. As you know, I am a communications relationship coach or relationship communication coach. And I'm also a mother-daughter relationship coach. So, and I guess you would say my journey, I had that journey of caregiving for my mom. And so I would like for you to watch this video. And afterwards, let's have a discussion because sometime in all of our lives, more than likely, we're going to be a caregiver or we're going to have a caregiver. So afterwards, I would like to have a conversation with you about caregiving, especially now between mothers and daughters. Mother's Day is coming up soon. And sometimes that's just a time when there are a lot of challenges with the mother-daughter relationship and with caregiving. So what I want to do is start the video, and then afterwards, please have a conversation with me. If you have your own tips and tools, if you have a journey yourself and you'd like to talk about it, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere after the video. So let me find it here. And oh, where is it now? It is here. Here it is. That you will get some value from this. And if there is anyone who you would like to watch the video.
Working full-time, caring for a parent or grandparent, it can be challenging when you're doing it alone. Caregiver reduce their stress and overwhelm to create a better caregiving experience for themselves and their loved one. Caregiver brings caregivers together with experts who provide information in a variety of areas. In each episode, you'll get tips on topics such as finance, legal, medical, self-care, community resources, mindset, and more. We're here to make your caregiving one. Acquire the confidence and skills to be a more capable caregiver by implementing the resources and strategies from these expert thought leaders. Get a community of support, resources, and strategies for your caregiving journey inside the Caregiver Lifeline community. Visit caregiverlifelinecommunity.com. And now here's your host, Mary Elaine Petrucci.
Welcome to Caregiver Cast. I'm Mary Elaine Petrucci, your host. My today is Dr. Jan Fortman, who will be talking mother-daughter relationships. And that is your situation. So before I believes that communication is the foundation for all relationships, both personal and professional. Her mission is to improve relationships using felt, authentic, effective communication. Anne is an award-winning author, a sought-after international keynote speaker, relationship communication distinguished Toastmaster, a 50-plus and producer and host of the mother-daughter relationship show and relationship routine. In April 2022, Miss the female entrepreneur to watch by Women Entrepreneur magazine. She's on the cover of the February 20.
You know what? Technology works, and technology is wonderful when it works. Today I played this and I thought, okay, this is really going well. I don't know what it is, if it's my internet connection, which it shouldn't be because supposedly I have the highest speed there is. And I really don't know what the problem is. I'm going to try it another way, but before I do that, what I'm going to do is let's talk. Uh, so while I'm reloading, hopefully, excuse me, got the hiccups now. Hopefully, oops, it says no, it won't do that because the video is too large. Oh well. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about caregiving during the mother-daughter relationship. I can just talk to you about what we discussed when I was on Mary Elaine Petrucci's podcast. And I talked really more so about the journey with my mom when I had to become a caregiver. And the journey was difficult at times, and at times it was not difficult at all. But what I really talked to her about, Ms. Petrucci, about was the early signs of dementia that I did not recognize that was really impacting our relationship. And I didn't know anything about dementia or Alzheimer's. I had heard of it, but I didn't know the early signs. What I did see was that our relationship was uh, becoming negative, and to me, it was dissolving from what our relationship was when we were both younger. But when my mom was, I would say, in her 80s, things started changing, and things were happening. And so what I did, I gave some scenarios and some instances of things that happened. And one of them, my mom had a housekeeper. We had gotten my mom a housekeeper. And she started complaining about the young lady and saying that she's using my face cream, and or she's eating my bananas, and then it was she's stealing my soap. Well, I would just say, what? Why would she use your face cream? She's not using your face cream. And and if she eats a banana, so what? But why are you saying that she's stealing your soap? Uh, she brings her cleaning things, and you're talking about bar soap. Why would she steal bar soap? I'm not understanding then. I'm just thinking, what the heck is going on here? Then there were a couple of times when we were going shopping and I went into her closet to get her something to wear. What did I see in her closet? I saw food, and it was, why do you have this in your closet? Well, I'm keeping that in my closet so that she won't steal it, and I want someone else because she steals. Okay, so that was one thing. I'm not knowing. I'm not knowing that these are some subtle signs. I'm just thinking, and I'm arguing with her. Then there was an instance where we did go shopping, and we were shopping for winter coats. And so she bought a coat, and I bought a coat. And that winter came, and she wore her coat, and she wore it to church, and her friend complimented her on the coat. Well, the next winter rolled around, and when I said, okay, well, you're going to wear the coat that you bought last year, she looked at the coat. She said, this is not my coat. And I said, it is your coat. This is not my coat. I would never buy a coat like this. And I thought, you did buy this coat. This is your coat. And I said, you wore it to church, and your friend complimented you on it. And so I told her friend. And when her friend told her, well, no, you saw, you wore the coat. I saw your coat, and I complimented you on your coat. She argued with the friend. This is not my coat. That Janice stole my coat and substituted this coat. Oh, okay. Now we're having a big argument. I don't know what's going on. And I am arguing, why would I steal your coat? Why would I want this coat? This is your coat. I can't, the coat was an extra large. And I said, and why would I try, an extra large coat? And, but anyway, it just went to a big thing. And so one day she's just yelled and screamed, get this coat out of my house. Get it out. Which I did. And okay, still not knowing what is going on here. The straw that I guess you would say broke the camel's back was when she accused me of stealing her money. And OMG, what? Stealing your money? And so I started like, you know what? I'm wondering. I started reading really about dementia and Alzheimer's, and I thought this must be one of the signs of dementia. And so what I did, I started looking at the 10 most common signs. And one was changes in mood and behavior, because her behavior became different. She was always one of these ladies that was, happy and talked a lot, and she loved to sing, and, outgoing personality, and she liked to go places, and that changed. She didn't want to go anywhere. And in the end, things started happening so that she started getting worse, I would say. And so I started talking with her doctor. And I told her doctor, I really would like for you to give her an exam, because there's some kind of an exam uh, where you can find out her, her functioning and whether or not she's going into dementia, or is it Alzheimer's or what? Because dementia, I think, is the if I can get this right, is the symptoms, but Alzheimer's is the disease. Well, I found out something about Alzheimer's, especially older people. And I've forgotten what they call it. But anyway, um, when she would go to the doctor and the doctor would ask her questions, she was extremely lucid. She would answer her questions. She would make little smart remarks, all of those things. And then the doctor would tell me, well, I really don't see any evidence. And I'm thinking, what? Somehow, at times, when it's really, really important to them, or if they really know what's going on, they can turn it off for some reason. I don't know why, but I saw this, and I talked to some other friends of mine or colleagues of mine who would say the same thing. Well, anyway, as time went on, she really got worse and worse and worse. So I started seeing more signs. And so what I'm saying to you is that watch for these signs. And the thing is, the signs, I'm going to talk about them, can happen. It doesn't matter whether or not the person is older, a senior citizens. A person can develop dementia, Alzheimer's, starting at age 30. So the first sign is memory loss that affects day-to-day abilities. And she's there were things that she could not do. One of them, which really was very frustrating for her, was signing her name. And she really would complain, I can't sign my name. I can't sign my name. Or when she was cooking, she would burn up food. Day-to-day activities, like she loved to have a spick and span house, and she couldn't do that anymore. She couldn't dust or wipe things down. And so just these day-to-day things that she was used to doing, she was having difficulty doing. And it's the same as performing familiar tasks. So things that were really familiar to her, she seemed to be confused about doing them. Also, problems with language. Sometimes she would say things and they would be all jumbled up. And I'd say, what are you saying? What do you mean? Then she would get defensive. You know what I mean. And I would say, what you just said, blah, blah, blah. No, I did not. I did not say it like that. So all of these things were going on. Now, later on, I knew that because she was experiencing these things, of course, she would get very defensive. Disorientation to time and place. Now, what I do want to say to you is that sometimes we might have symptoms, not symptoms of dementia, but these things might happen to us. Like you wake up one morning and you say, what day is it? What? You mean today is Thursday? I thought today was Saturday. or wait a minute, where am I? Or, oh, that's right. Uh, I said I was going wherever. So there are times, and even with the language, sometimes we I just can't think of that word. What is wrong with me? You're not suffering from dementia, but this is something that's ongoing and gets worse and worse and worse. Misplacing things. Now we do that. I will misplace my glasses in a minute. Sometimes it's like right up under my nose. And I think that's just really from being distracted when we do things. It's like coming in, instead of putting your keys in the same place where they're be, or where you always put them. You're in a hurry. You come in, you throw them down over here, then you don't go back and get them, and then the next time you get ready for your keys, it's like, now where did I put my keys? Okay, that's being distracted. That's not the same thing. So when I'm reading these off to you, I don't want you to think that, oh my God, I'm suffering from dementia. Not really. Changes in personality, as I said, my mom, her personality really started changing. And loss of initiative. She used to really like to go out, just a lot of different things. And she just stopped. She didn't want to do these things anymore. And so those were some of the things that were happening. And I did not recognize the signs. But you can also Google early signs of dementia, and you could get in more detail, so that if you are not a caregiver now, but pay attention to your mom, because this is about the mother-daughter relationship while caregiving. So so let's move into when I did become her caregiver. It was for a short period of time, but but before I get to that, I want to say this. There might come a time with your mom when you have to make a decision that's for her own safety, physical safety or medical, that she will totally disagree with. I have a friend whose mother is in dementia, and she drives, and she still wants to drive. And when I said, you're going to have to take those keys away. And she said, oh no, she'll never forgive me. She's going to be so angry. I just don't know that I can do that. But I said, you have to do that for her own safety. You've already said that she loses her way, that she drives like a bat out of hell. And I said, some kind of way, those keys have to be lost. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you have to do it for her own safety. I had another friend whose mom just could not take care of herself anymore. And she was not able to take care of her mom. And it ended up that she had to place her mom in a nursing home. That was because her mom now was full Alzheimer's disease. Her mom would go out, get lost, and she wasn't taking her medication. And it just got to be where she really couldn't take care of her mom. Well, I remember her really struggling with that. Like, my mom would never forgive me. My mom has always said, never put me in a nursing home, but I can't take care of her. She's walking out of the house. The neighbors call me at work and say, your mom is outside. And so in the end, she had to make that decision. And she struggled with it. And her mom definitely, uh, it took her mom a long time to even speak with her daughter again. But so what I'm saying, there a time might come like that when you have to make that decision. I remember my aunt, and I remember when her son took the car keys away. Well, what was happening is that the church called him and said, your mom is coming to church. driving really fast, knocking down every single cone in the parking lot. People are afraid, and they're afraid for themselves, and they are afraid for your mom. And he took her keys. I don't think she ever forgave him, but it was for her own good. So I'm just saying, there might come a time when you do have to make a decision for whoever it is you're caregiving, especially with your mom. And that's the hardest thing, because the mother-daughter relationship is different. It's it's a dynamic relationship. It's there was a quote that said least understood, and and it's the kind of relationship that, of course, being the daughter and the mom, and you're the mom, or you have the mom that you're taking care of, you know, you want to maintain that loving relationship. And when your mom is getting older, if she's going through dementia, and that changes her personality, the and uh, the way she communicates with you, reacts to you, find out if you can, or Google the signs. And I want to say to you, the hardest part that the hardest thing for me was to not take things personally, because as a daughter, I'm emotionally involved. And how can she say this to me? How could she do this to me? How could she think I'm stealing from her? You know, how can she say ugly things to me? It took a long time for me to really know and take in that this was not her, this was the disease. Now, um, caregiving with your mom, if she's in dementia and suffering from Alzheimer's, is difficult. There are things that you have to do. I had to get my mother another caregiver to come in, because she was very resistant to anything that I said or anything that I wanted to do. And a, a behavior that I've seen with friends and clients whose moms are going through Alzheimer's is the fact that now they don't want to bathe or shower. Uh, and no matter what, I could not get my mom to do it. But I got the person, the caregiver who was coming in before hours a day. She would do it for her. Um, so there are all kinds of issues that will come up in your mother-daughter relationship while you are caregiving. What I will say again, and I want to emphasize this point, if there is a change in the way that they are reacting or acting with you and it's negative, don't take it personal, because it's not them. That's something that you really, excuse me, have to really get into here, get into your heart, and get into your mind. Now, I do see, excuse me, some viewers. And if you have comments, or if you have questions, if you have tips and tools that you use or used, if you had to go through that journey, or even if you have questions, you know, put them in the comments. I would love to answer some questions, or another viewer, once you put comments or questions, another viewer might have a tip or two or comment that can help you. So I'm waiting. Now, I'm going to talk about my book while I'm waiting for some questions. Uh, my book is called The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train. I got the wrong finger. Here it is right here. Yeah. And it's available on Amazon.com. It's about my journey with my mom and other ladies who contributed their stories and their journeys. Some of it is very, parts of the book is very intense, but there's comedy, there's humor, there's some insights into that relationship, some psychological insights into that relationship. There's stress relievers. And I always say, I always put I have scriptures in there, uh, whatever it is that can help you in that journey. And I will say, if you get into a situation and you feel that you're just so overwhelmed, or it's something you just feel that you really can't deal with it, there are all kinds of organizations that can assist you and they can help you in the journey that you're having with your mom, um, if you're caregiving. So there are all kinds of organizations. Don't take it on yourself. On last Saturday, there was a 90-minute special that I did, and it was for you to be the kind of caregiver that you want to be for your mom. You have to take care of yourself. So I want you to remember that. Now, my book, The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train, um, as I said, it's about my journey and other ladies' journeys, and I like to talk about the little humor that some of the ladies who decided to contribute, some of the humor. One of them was saying that she gave her mom moved in with her, and she gave her mom a bell, and she told her mom, uh, be sure if you need anything to ring the bell. And so her mom would ring the bell, and she'd go and see, uh, what she could do for her mother. And it would be, are you ready for lunch? Ring the bell if you're ready for lunch. And she would ring the bell and she'd go down. So anything that her mom needed, her mom would ring the bell. Well, what was happening? She said, ting-a-ling, ting-a-ling all day long. And then she said, what really got me was ting-a-ling and a real ting-a-ling-ling-ling-ling. She's rushing down to where her mother was to see what was wrong. And her mother said, "Oh well, no, I was just making sure that you could hear the bell." And she said, "Mom, I always hear the bell." "Well, I just wanted to make sure." So she said later on, when her mom was asleep, she went in. She took the little thing out of the top of the bell, and she said, her mom said, "What happened to the bell?" She said, "Well, I just didn't want you to break the bell." So they devised something else for her mom. So what she would do is just like every, say, hour, or she would go in and she would check on her mom. And then she's decided, okay, so what I'll do, since I work from home, I will, instead of having my mom over in another room, I have my laptop. I would go in there and I would work right there and with my mom, so that I didn't have to hear that bell, that tingling. And another one of the ladies who contributed said, "Well, Dr. Jan, I have become an alcoholic." And I said, "What do you mean you became an alcoholic?" She said, "Well, I go over, I visit my mom, and I could see that she is in the throes of early dementia. And she asked me the same question over and over and over. I said, well, why do you say you're an alcoholic? She says, well, I stashed a bottle of wine on the back porch. And about the fifth time she would ask the question and I would answer, I would go take a drink, come back in. And I said, okay, so what's happening? She said, I'm going through a bottle of wine on a daily basis. I thought, oh, no. You can't do that. You can't do that. But anyway, so, that was just a couple of little humorous stories. And a question came in through, through text. It says, the question is, how do you make a difference to put your mother in an assisted living facility or nursing home? And what is the difference between the two? Well, thank you. Thank you for the question. At first, my mom went into assisted living, and assisted living was she could feed herself. She had her own little apartment, and she could cook with a microwave. She could take her baths and her showers, and of course they had railings and things like that around so that she wouldn't she could hold on to things, and she was more independent. This was a very nice assisted living place. They had a dining room, and it was set up just like you're going out to eat, and you could order your food. So it was more independent. They had different activities that they could be a part of. They would take them out on field trips, and it was so assisted living was that because she could not maintain a place of her own. Also, there was someone there to do her hair. They had someone, beautician would come in, do hair. Another person would come in and do nails. They had physical therapy people would come in, doctors would come in, nurses would come in. They had someone who would dispense medication, like if she's supposed to take it 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, they would come in there and they would check on her. So it was more independent, and she was mobile. She had issues walking. She needed a walker, but she was more mobile. But what happened is that she suffered a stroke. So now assisted living was not the place for her. It ended up, she needed 24-hour care. She was not mobile at all. There was a drastic decline in her mental abilities, her physical abilities, her physical health had gotten worse. And so therefore she needed 24-hour care in the nursing home. Now, when I did take her, I could see there were some people there who, and also she was bedridden by then. Although there were some people I saw in there who were not bedridden, but so that's really the difference, in that the care is more intense. The care is she needed 24-hour care, and that was the difference. I think another text is coming in. Okay. And I got a text here from viewer Maxine. She says, I wish I could get my older sister to go into assisted living. She has a home that's too large for her to handle, and she's not taking care of herself. And that is difficult when you're not there to be the caregiver, and when it's a person who is extremely independent and does not want to really accept the fact that they need care. The only thing I would suggest to Maxine is to keep checking on her sister. Can't change the way she is. There may come a time when you might have to bring her to live with you, or you live with her and you take care of her. Or if that's not an option, um, in the end, she might have to be placed in assisted living or a nursing home. Unfortunately, that can happen with siblings, um, even with moms, because this is about taking care of your mom during while you are a caregiver. And so I think that's about it. Um, I appreciate you watching. I hope that you have gotten some valuable information. And what I'm going to do is see if I can get that video up and try and put it on my Facebook page. I think it might be on my Facebook page, but if it's not, put it on my Facebook page and also put it on YouTube. Uh, because one thing that I kind of smiled at when Ms. Petrucci talked about her mom. She said, we had a very good relationship. She said, but after a while, my mom started telling stories. And and I said, what kind of stories? She said, I think it was one Christmas or something, and her mom bought her some gifts, and she didn't really want the gifts, and but the mom told her, well, no, I can't take them back because I don't have a receipt. And she said she knew her mother was telling a story because she said her mom always keeps receipts. So different little things, different little things. That was kind of a manipulative thing, but different little things can happen. Let's see. Another text just came in. What are some tips to use to solve conflict between you and your mom? Let me tell you what I tell my clients. You cannot change your mother, but you can change the way you respond to challenging situations. The first thing is communication. Usually the conflict comes between, especially adult daughters and moms, is the words we use, communication, the way we speak to each other, and usually the words we use, how we communicate, using your body language, your eyes, the tone of your voice. Remember, I think I said this in a very, very, very early episode about communication. 80% of communication is non-verbal. So conflict can come when not only if you're not using the right words, but when you're using what you feel are the right words, but your body language says something different. The tone of your voice says something different. And this is what happens when you have misunderstandings. And listening. A lot of times we listen to respond, meaning we listen so that we can say what we feel about what the other person said. And we're not really listening to what they said. And so what happens, there are misunderstandings. I did a market research of 50 women, and I asked all kinds of questions. And it was about the mother-daughter relationship. And the main item that came up was Communication. I wish we could communicate better. I wish we didn't argue all the time. I wish that if I said blue, she wouldn't say black. I wish she would understand me. Communication, listening. The third thing, boundaries. We get to the point as adult daughters and moms where we stop respecting each other's boundaries. Now, when we're kids, there are really no boundaries, so to speak. But once we become adults, what happens? Daughters, we become the mother. We overstep boundaries. Moms, we forget that our daughters are adults and we overstep those boundaries. There are all kinds of boundaries. So when the text came in about how to resolve the conflicts, you have to communicate. You have to talk with each other, and you have to make sure that you're not misunderstood. The best way to do that is if you make a statement, then don't say, do you understand me? Say, am I saying this right? Am I communicating this to you right? You can always say, now what do you think about what I said? And sometimes you get a, well, you said such and such. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. And when you do that, when you clarify, that can solve a whole lot of conflicts. And daughters, like I said, you can't change your mom, but you can change the way you respond to certain things. A lot of times we feel that our moms are overstepping their boundaries. They're treating us like a child. But the psychology behind that sometimes is that your mom misses the fact that you're not her little girl anymore. And she might not say it to you, but in here, it's like trying to bring that feeling back. And a lot of times it comes across as being controlling, overstepping boundaries. Um, you shouldn't raise your children this way, or whatever. Uh, I don't think that he's going to make a good husband, whatever. But it's that wanting to have that feeling that she's still the mom. So anyway, that's about it today. I am so happy that you did tune in and that you did watch. Now, Mother's Day is coming up. And next episode, I am going to have some moms on. And we are going to talk about being a mom to daughters, especially adult daughters. And hopefully some moms will be on that have sons. I would really like to have a discussion on the difference in raising a son and raising a daughter. So now, if you would like to be a guest on next week's show, all you have to do is, let me find my banner, which of course now I don't see since I tried to, that video wouldn't go on. So I'm just going to make up for you to see so that you can text me. No, not text me. You can email me. So you can email me at, come on, show up, There you go. You can email me at relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com if you would like to be a guest on the show and just talk about, your experiences. If you're a mom, actually, if you're a mom with an adult daughter or son, I'd love for you to be a guest. And if you are a daughter, adult daughter, and we could talk about um, your relationship with your mom. And thank you, Jacqueline Rogers. Thank you very much for your compliment. So anyway, and I shouldn't be using the word so. So Jacqueline Rogers, I know it's a Toastmaster, and so it's a filler word. So Jacqueline, I hope you're not counting my filler words. I hope that I've given you some valuable information, and I hope that you will be back on next Thursday, 7 p.m. Relationship Matters TV, 7 p.m. Central Time, so that we can talk about Mother's Day coming up and the mother daughter relationship. Until then, have a beautifully blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or even evening. All right, take care. Bye bye.